Hey language lovers, I couldn't get into my office this week to shoot video, but I wanted to give you something. So I made a short segment on martial law from the podcast with just images and not pictures of me. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you want to hear the entire show, you can always find the whole podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all those places. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to be back with something more normal next week. Thanks. Bye.
One of our listeners wrote in to say that he'd been seeing the phrase martial law misspelled quite a lot as MARSHALL, law. It should be spelled MARTIAL, as in related to war, warriors, or the military. The word comes from the medieval Latin martialis, meaning something related to Mars, the god of war. Martial law describes a situation in which the rule of law is enforced by the military rather than local police. This usually happens in an emergency, like a zombie apocalypse, when citizens are in panic mode and local law enforcement can't maintain public order and safety by themselves. They need federal troops to step in and help. Martial law has been imposed in the United States in the past. During the War of 1812, Andrew Jackson imposed martial law within a 4-mile radius of his camp in New Orleans. In 1934, the governor of California placed the docks of San Francisco under martial law after a dock workers' strike. President Lincoln tried to put the entire U.S. under martial law back in the Civil War, but the Supreme Court said it was a no-go. So let's jump back to the accidental spelling of marshal as MARSHALL. This is a great example of an eggcorn. An eggcorn appears when people replace the right word with a different word that sounds the same and that makes logical sense in its place. The name comes from a woman who thought the word acorn, the nut from an oak tree, was eggcorn, which kind of makes sense if you think of an egg as something that grows into a bigger organism. One common eggcorn is for all intensive purposes, used in place of for all intents and purposes. And another is old-timer's disease, used in place of Alzheimer's disease. In this case, martial law kind of makes sense because folks could assume the concept was created by George C. Marshall. Marshall was the U.S. Chief of Staff during World War II and one of the most decorated military leaders in American history. He was also the mastermind behind the Marshall Plan. That was the U.S. program that provided aid to a devastated Western Europe after World War II. So Marshall Plan, martial law, it kind of makes sense. On a silly note, the phrase martial law, spelled MARSHALL, recently got major attention when Florida Senator Marco Rubio asked citizens via Twitter to, quote, please stop spreading stupid rumors about martial law, unquote. Seizing on his typo, people immediately created memes featuring Marshall Mathers, also known as the rap artist Eminem, photoshopped into a police uniform. Of course, Eminem's fans misunderstood, thinking these memes meant that a new Eminem album was on the way. Eminem himself finally had to step into the fray, relaying to his fans on Twitter that sorry, but martial law involving him was, quote, not a thing, unquote. So that's your tidbit for today. Martial is spelled MARTIAL. It relates to the military, and therefore martial law is law enforced by the military, not the local police. That segment was written by Samantha Enslin, who runs Dragonfly Editorial. You can find her at dragonflyeditorial.com or on Twitter as DragonflyEdit. I'm Mignon Fogarty, and thanks to my producer Nathan Sams. That's all. Thanks for listening.